Hey guys, come on in, come on in. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is that time. It is Thursday. Switch it from Tuesday, and you are here with a panel talking about small group trainings. My name is Jeff Howard. I'll give you a few minutes to get in. I'd like everybody to go over Zoom a real quick minute. We've got the mute button, which you all are muted right now. Stop video. We've got your video stopped. Security is if somebody gets out of hand, which never happens. But what I care about is your chat box. If you could click it and open it up and pull it to the side and let me know where you're from, that would be great. I am from Louisville myself. Just let me know where you guys are from. Come on in, come on in. Oh, good. New York. Thank you, Elizabeth. Orlando, Florida. Good, good, good. Welcome, 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 guys. Welcome. Well, my name is Jeff Howard. Obviously, I'm not Sarah. She is actually in Paris for her anniversary. And so she asked me to fill in with her for her, which I gladly had to do. There's about 125 people signed up tonight. People will trickle in throughout, but you know it's recorded, so you'll be able to watch it also at a later date. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to our beautiful Kelly Roberts, who is getting married this Sunday. So congratulations, Kelly, on the upcoming event, and it's been long overdue, but I'm so excited for you, and I wish you all to give her happy thoughts, especially on Sunday. But let's go over who we have tonight. Tonight's a great class, great. It's about small group training. First of all, we have Kelly, who we just talked about. She was named IDEA International Fitness Instructor of the Year awarded the SCW Best Female Personality and Presenter, Lifetime Achievement OBOW Award, and was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame. Kelly was also honored as Presenter of the Year, as well as the Inspirational Award winner for Empower Convention. Kelly is an ACSM EP and holds certifications through ACE as a GFI, HC, and CPT. Kelly is also an SCW faculty member, a Schwinn Senior Master Trainer, and a RICA ambassador. But more than that, Kelly is also an author, and she has a book that she wrote on this topic alone, Kelly. It's a small group personal training book. It's great. She's going to go ahead and put it in how you can get a hold of it. So please write that in. And of course, we've known Kelly forever. She's amazing. She's been in the industry for a long time. That's all I'm going to say. Then we have next to her beautiful Leslie Bender, who has so many things after her name. I'm not even going to go through them all, but trust me, it's a book. Is a Great Institute International Presenter, Director of I Am Ageless Now, and has been in the fitness industry for over 28 years. Leslie is the creator of the Bender Ball, the method of safe core training, and the co-creator of Bar Above. She has filmed over 50 videos, has a new book called Living Pain Free, and trains and works with the active aging community in Florida. And I'll be honest with you, I've been very fortunate to know Leslie and Kelly for a very long time. And a little side note, Leslie would show up, Sheldon, to conventions, and she would have these balls. Remember that, Kelly? And she would blow them all up, and she basically would do her workouts, and then she would have to take them all down. And I remember when I first met Leslie, I'm like, oh my God, so much work. But then it became this beautiful program that I'm sure most of you experienced, which she developed, and it's a phenomenal thing. But I've known both of them for so long. A new friend of mine who I've worked with a few times is Sheldon, who is the alpha on our group. Sheldon McBee is an executive director of Universal Athletic Club. He is an ACE certified personal trainer and group fitness instructor with over 19 years of experience in health and fitness. Sheldon is an experienced international presenter, lecturer, educator, business consultant, and fitness content developer. He has presented at IRSA, IDEA, CanFit Pro, SCW, and industry conferences. Sheldon has been featured in numerous industry publications and sits on the CanFit Pro and Club Solution Magazine advisory panel. That's us. I'm Jeff Howard. I don't know if you know me. If you don't, take one of my classes. I do the Group X certification, the Aqua certification, the Yoga certification, Pilates certification. I do certifications, apparently. I've been in the industry a long time. But let's go into what we're talking about tonight, guys, okay? This is profitable small group training for the personal trainer. As a personal trainer, we often restrict our own success by only offering one-on-one training. However, small group training is growing rapidly in our industry. For our clients, it can provide a more affordable training session with the added comfortability of training workout with others. From the trainer standpoint, it maximizes time, increases our profitability, and can help more clients. Join our panel of experts as they delve into how to launch, implement small group personal training with Effective today. And I'll be honest with you, we were talking prior to coming on, and it's funny. I want to first classify what everybody classifies as a small group training and what they feel comfortable with. Leslie, let's start with you. What do you classify as a small group training?
Well, I think a small group can honestly be anywhere from two or more people. Um, it can be a small group if you consider two is not one-on-one personal training. So anytime that we have more than one individual that we are training or you are training, then it changes financially for them, and ultimately it changes financially for us. And for me, it's up to no more than 8 people, because then for me it's too many people. So anywhere from 2 to 8 is
I love
your
that.
small group.
How about you, Kelly? What do you like what do you feel comfortable with?
I feel comfortable between 2 and 6. I don't like to train more than 6 people at a time. I find it's just too hard to really monitor people, to watch them closely, to be able to, I teach group exercise. I'm a personal trainer, so I straddle. I'm a hybrid. I straddle all those different environments, but for me to be comfortable in a small group training environment, I am much better with fewer people. I couldn't handle 10 people. I can handle between 2 and 6. 6 is my maximum.
Love that. And Sheldon, what about you? Sheldon's is a little bit,
Yeah,
I mean, his program is a little bit different, guys. His club has over 10,000 members, and they have group exercise going on, and they have studios that are made just for this. So his a little bit different, I think, the way you probably do it.
yeah, it is quite different. And I mean, there's many different models of small group training that exist in smaller boutique studios. Could be high volume, low profit facilities, or a multi-service facility like ours. Ours is a big club, it's 110,000 square feet with a lot of members and a lot of small groups. We when we put small group training out in the universe and say this is what it is, we're just trying to get a perception to our prospects that you are going to be in an environment where you're going to get enough attention from a nationally certified and accredited person to help you get whatever result you're going for. So in order to get that sweet spot and differentiate it from group exercise, we just found that to sit between 3 and 9 people. The 9, where's the 9 come from? It just so happens that one of our programs always works in 3 groups of 3 pods that can be monitored by a single coach that work in micro circuits. And so we say, okay, we can handle 9, but anything less than 3 is considered a private or buddy. So that's our definition of it.
I love that. And I'm like Kelly, I'm a hybrid. I think it's much of us. I do group exercise and I also do personal training. And I have Tuesday and Thursday a group of 8 people that I've trained, small personal training, but my sweet spot is going to be between 4 and 6. The 8, because they know each other so well, they help each other out and they're kind of their own tribe mentality. But that's kind of where we're at with it. But let's jump in. What is the biggest benefits you have seen with small group personal training? What are the biggest benefits you've seen with small group personal training? Leslie.
Well, I think for me personally that I've seen is once again as we are building camaraderie, and that people get to know each other, and if somebody doesn't show up, they will call each other, or they will ask, they'll ask the trainer saying, hey, Susan wasn't there today, have you seen her, is she okay? So then all of a sudden I find it all of a sudden they have to be accountable and show up for their sessions. So in that respect, I feel like it really is beneficial that they are there for each other, like you just said, the tribe feeling, that obviously is part of it. But the second part of it, I think, my friends, is that when you talked about finances later on in our conversation today, it can be so much more beneficial for us as trainers when they're paying a little bit less, but yet we're going to reap higher benefits from the structure of a class versus them just taking, a large fitness class, for example. So there's so many benefits. I think there's definitely more than one answer that I think you're going to hear from all of us on this one.
Kelly, what is your biggest benefit with doing small group?
Um, I think it's a real win-win situation because it's more personal than group exercise. It's more motivating than personal training. It has that group dynamic feel to it where you have that motivation of being in a group, but also financially for you as the trainer, it is better money. The way I always have run my small groups, because I'm just, I work in studios or I go to people's houses. And so one of the small groups I work in is in someone's house, and it's a group of friends who get together and they guarantee me a certain amount of money, no matter who comes. Now, if there's more people than my guaranteed, I get more money. But if there's less, I still get paid my guaranteed amount of money. So if there's less people, they pay more. So they have an obligation to each other to be accountable to each other to make sure that they don't have to pay more. But I get paid my base fee no matter what. And if more people come, I get more money.
I love that. I love that. Sheldon, what do you feel is the biggest benefits you see with small
Yeah.
group?
I mean, I concur with what's been said. Accessibility is the biggest thing. There's more affordable for your target market, and the trainer makes more money. I mean, that's really, really obvious and a big win for everybody. I'll just add on by saying that there's a unique opportunity to create a branded experience that you could tie a bow around and present in your marketing that will make sense to someone who says, should I do that or not? Versus always relying on the individual trainer, which is always great. I mean, you can certainly build around you, your persona, your brand, but it allows a business that perhaps will rely on multiple trainers, or like our facility has multiple rooms running these services, to have a scalable system built around a branded small group training experience. So you could drive revenue much quicker. I'll let you know, honestly, we were sitting at around, $600,000 in one-on-one training about 15 years ago. And now we're on pace for $1.7 million in training. 80% of that is all small group. And it is because of it's more accessible, coach makes more. And on top of that, it's a unique opportunity for you as a coach or as a business owner operator to potentially create a scenario where you can have a coach, well, at least we do this, working in shifts where you can just feed that shift new members or leads. And so the trainers don't have to come in at like 5 a.m., leave at 7, come back in at 9, leave at 11, come back at 5, leave at 7, and work a broken shift in order to make income. And so for that is just a good experience for the trainer in and of itself. The last thing I'll mention is this. I do, small group and hybrid training myself, and I've done a lot of one-on-one. It's just my personal preference. I just like being around little groups of people. It's just more fun. It's different energy. I turn the music up. I'm coaching, and when I'm one-on-one, it's cool. I'm one-on-one with that person. It's an intimate atmosphere, but just sometimes, we're waiting between sets, small talking or whatever, and it's like, what? I just like the dynamic of a group. It just feels more fun to coach. The day goes by like that. So
I agree with you. I agree with you. I can't agree with all of you more. So I mean, like same with me, Kelly. I get the money up front at the beginning of the month for my small groups, and if they cancel or whatever, then I don't get hurt, because that's what was happening at first when I was doing my business. I was having them pay me with the sessions, but if they didn't come in, I didn't get paid. So I changed it, and nobody has a problem with it, guys. For some reason in our business, we're afraid to ask for money. Don't be afraid to ask for money. They want your time and they're willing to pay for it. And I think everybody hit it on as well. The difference between Group X and small PT is we can correct their forms. We can give them that one-on-one attention to make sure they're doing it correctly. So you can have people that are even at different fitness levels, but be able to get them to all have a mutual workout. But let's talk about this real quick, my guys. So a lot of personal trainers maybe have never taught Group X. We've all been fortunate that we've taught numbers of people. How do you feel you can get that personal trainer that is stuck doing one-on-one to think about opening it up to maybe 2 to 4 people? How would you mentor that? Sheldon, how do you mentor that in your business?
Yeah. So the way I'll say the way we did it, and then I guess I could scale that back for you to consider. We had to start with the product first. So we got together some of the department heads in the facility and said, look, we want these couple of different branded experiences in our facility, so that the trainer, in and of his or herself, wasn't overly reliant on coming up with everything from scratch. We said, we're going to work with you to create what's going to be the blueprint of what the program is going to look like, the blueprint of what the minimum and maximum number of people could be, the blueprint of what the room should kind of look like, where you do it, how it's sold and presented. And then we said, okay, here's what it's going to look like for you as a coach. And then we kind of plugged them in that system. But that's just not what everyone's experience is going to be. A lot of one-on-one trainers are like, look, I got to do this on my own and figure this out. So my biggest advice would be this, is to start with a plan of what it would look like with whatever you define as small group, whether it's 3, 2, 4, 6, whatever it may be, and define the experience. It probably is a good idea to say, look, this is the kind of objective and result I want to get from my kind of training. I focus on empowering women's strength training, or whatever it is, whatever you decide, or I focus on, Gen Z millennial training for power, whatever it is, you have to have a clear definition and niche that is very distinguishable, because it's a very crowded market. I mean, it is. You have to have a clear message to deliver. Once you've got those couple things established, then you start to take let's say you have a book of, I don't know, 10, 20 clients. You start to experiment and put people together and do a litmus test. Let's say, look, I'll give you guys 30 days in this experience to just do this with me. Let's see how this looks and feels. I really want to make this grow. Perhaps you reduce the rate of training for them, or let them do it either with money down and money back guarantee if they finish the first 30 days, where you litmus test what it looks like to train in small groups. Because as a personal trainer, what you're going to find is it is much more challenging to say what you expect in the session and expect a group of people to execute the way you want, and then correct technique and form the way you're used to. That's harder. So you have to, you also have to program differently. What tends to happen is you think you can progress people a certain way, but progressing groups is different. You have to have a core group of exercises that you rely on and lean on, that are considered foundational, that you build off of and progress slowly over time, and have new people slide in doing a modified version of that over a defined amount of time, and then they slide into your regular programming. These are all things you have to start to consider, but it takes like practice and litmus testing with probably your client base now who's willing to do it, just to get the ball rolling. But have a plan of what it looks like, know your niche, understand some of those sort of coaching and cueing barriers. I could go on for hours, but those are some of the things that to just kind of consider as a one-on-one trainer. But just know it's worth the effort. I'll say one more thing, and I'm sorry if I'm occupying time. I went through this experience 15 years ago, when small group training was just kind of becoming a thing, because at the time I was an international trainer, traveling all the time, and I was doing a lot of one-on-one training, and I couldn't anymore. I was traveling Thursday through Sunday almost every week. So I had to take all my clients and just put them into groups. So I said, all right, here's how it's going to work. I told them, here's how it's going to work. Here's the focus of the training hour. I come to find out they really enjoyed the idea of being with other people and having a clear training focus, and it worked just fine as long as there's a plan. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking now.
No. You said some wonderful things. Leslie, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, I would say for any new trainer that's watching this, that is doing primarily one-on-one and has any kind of trepidation of, oh, can I handle more than one person? And I don't know that I feel really comfortable with that. I do find that trainers do gravitate towards their niche, as you just said, Sheldon, is that, people that really, really love one-on-one training are going to gravitate towards that. But if they're kind of willing to say, I'm ready to kind of test the water, then perhaps you work under more of a seasoned group, small group trainer, like somebody like Kelly, where you would have the opportunity to take part of a section of that class, so that you start to feel comfortable in front of a group. I just did a certification last weekend, and clearly, some of the trainers that attended my certification are like, I like doing one-on-one. That I love doing one-on-one. But yet the other ones that got in front of more than one person, especially their peers, shined. So I think your personality has a lot to do with it too. Those of you that are watching, is, you know, but if it's something that you want to jump into, by all means, you find somebody that possibly could mentor you. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Totally. How about you, Kelly? Do you want to add anything?
I was just reading in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Leslie kind of hit the nail on the head with the personality thing. There are definitely people who are more extroverted, who enjoy being in front of people, and that's not natural for me. Even though I teach group exercise and I'm constantly in front of groups, I'm much more of an introvert. I like one-on-one training a lot. I'm very comfortable in that intimate relationship of relating to that one person at a time, and it's much harder for me to be in a group. And so personal training and small group training suits my personality more than group exercise, even though I've always taught group exercise. And for me, the compromise with group exercise has always been that you have a general program design. You don't have a specific program design, which you would have in personal training, like Sheldon was talking about, with having to have that base exercise that you then progress or regress according to that person's needs. So I think one of the things as a personal trainer, when you're stepping into small group training, you just have to let go of being a perfectionist with knowing that people are not going to do it the way you want them to perfectly. You have to be willing for them to do it well enough that it's safe, and that they'll get better at it if by repeating it. Their skill will be built through repetition, and it has to be enjoyable for them to keep coming back. So, you know, my biggest thing was letting go of that perfectionism of having them, I want them to do it exactly, you know, how I want them to do it, and realize that ideal movement form, that movement technique in a group is very elusive. It doesn't, you know, you have to be willing to go, okay, that's an interesting strategy.
I love that. I love
It's
that.
kind of interesting, but let's try it like this, and be willing to know that it's okay, that it doesn't have to be perfect to be good enough.
I love that. And for my personal trainers, you're going to find, you know, I get approached all the time. If I'm training a man or a woman, can I bring my spouse? Can I have them try it with me? And that's how you start almost doing one-on. Or my child's back from college. Can I have them work out with me? And then you have to kind of open it up, but it's going to be as natural as that. And then it'll get to the point where, like I just got asked today, my daughter's coming in for Thanksgiving. Will you do her girlfriends that are coming in with her? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, because that's a lot of money for me. Like, that's great. And of course I can do it. But for my newbies, it's going to start as simple as that. And just jump in with it. The body's going to be completely different. It's going to be a male versus female. But you're going to figure it out. Trust me, you already have it in your wheelhouse. But let's go about, how do you market? How does your marketing or sales process change when you implement small group personal training? How does your marketing or sales process change when implementing small personal training? Leslie?
Well, exponentially. Again, it's a win-win situation. So I'll just throw out the number, for example, of if depending on where you are demographically. So, for example, if we're charging, you know, $75 per a session in Reno, and that's, you know, it's anywhere from 75 to 120 depending on the trainer, and an individual wants to get results and they know that they need to work with a personal trainer, but they're on a budget, and if they only train with that person one time because of budgetary restraints, then for all intents and purposes they kind of didn't get much bang for their buck, other than this is how you use the equipment. So I feel, with that being said, marketing is essential, and I think Sheldon is probably going to be great to talk about this because of where he works, and that essentially is how the sales staff markets small group training. Like, we have a we have an active aging group, and they're all on limited income. However, there is a waiting list for our active aging small group, which they limit to 8 people because they're active aging and they all have issues. But the trainers are loving it because they are making more money. And somebody that's on a fixed income that could not afford the 75 to 120 an hour is paying whatever it is they are paying. And I apologize, I don't know what it is, but let's just say 20 or something like that. So truly at the end of the day, you're making more money per hour, and they're still able to come 2 or 3 times a week rather than saying, oh, I can only afford to see my trainer once a month. It kind of goes back to why people don't get massages, because massages are so expensive. It's like, yeah, it's $160 for, a great massage, but yet, if somebody, well, you can't really do group massage. Well, I guess you could, but that's on another subject. But anyway, once again, it's where is letting people know that they have to prioritize their health. But yet when you're on a fixed income, it's very difficult to justify it. So I think the marketing has to be very specific. As Sheldon kind of has mentioned, and as Kelly's mentioned, is if you're training people in their home that obviously can afford to bring you in, that you say, here's my price, and if you bring more people in, it goes up, but here's my price, even if only one of you shows up today. So I think the thing we need to address here is demographically, and where you train these people is going to be exponentially different based on their finances.
I love that. And Sheldon, because she keeps bringing it up, how do you guys do your marketing or sales process for small?
Yeah, I'll start with marketing. For us, the main thing to think about, I suppose, for us, and everyone really should as well, is whatever product you're putting on whatever channel that you're optimizing, whether it be through social media, through drip campaigns, through email, or whether it be through websites, SEO search that brings you up and what your website says. There always has to be some kind of a problem that you're trying to solve first and foremost, okay? Like someone is either gonna wanna feel a certain way, they're gonna wanna look a certain way, or they're gonna wanna perform or move a certain way. If that's not the first thing that people get thrown in front of them in your marketing, like nothing else is gonna matter. 10 years ago, we brought on small group training. We said, look, we had a little $20 bill that was lined up on the walls that said you could only train for this much. And we had a thing called Get Fit UAC. And don't you know, that just crashed and burned. It just didn't make any sense. People didn't know what they were paying for. They had no idea. It didn't really shift until we said, okay, you've got one of 3 choices. We can either help you look the way you want to look, or move the way, or feel the way you want to feel, which is more independent, stronger, and can function better, or you are going to perform way better. You're going to be faster, or improve your endurance. Which one of these 3 really answers the call for you, where if you just click this button, you're going to be a better version of yourself tomorrow? No price shown, the experience is hardly even there yet. Once they see themselves in this like solution that you have in your marketing, which is probably going to be on a post on your website or on your email drip, they're going to come to see that this is a small group training type experience. And this is how we're going to help you solve this problem. That's like a step 2. So, and then step 3 is, okay, great. Well, you can trial it, or this is how much it costs. Guess what? It's only about half to 60% of what you normally pay to work with a private trainer, which is usually the last bit of information we put in our marketing, because by the time they get to the point where they start to learn about the price, they just sold. Just take my money, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, it's only that much? I'm in. And typically they'll have a chance to trial or demo it before we even have a price presentation in the first place. So whatever you do in your marketing, anyone listening now, you want to avoid leading with what the product really is. No one really cares. If I try to sell you this iPhone years ago, or before it was a thing, you wouldn't even care what this thing was, a contraption. But if I told you and you never saw it, I could make your life 1,000,000 times easier. You're going to save a ton of time. You're going to be more connected to the world, and you will feel more efficient and have sleep better at night because you just feel like you're getting stuff done. Wouldn't you love that? Most people are going to say, yeah, well, guess what? So that's the key with small group training. You got to treat it the same way. So that's what we try to do. We used to have small group training all over the place. We said, nope, we're going to break it down to 3 products: look, move, or feel better. And then when it comes to someone walking in the club and they're going to be integrated as a new member, we ask them a bunch of needs analyses questions. We do a Fit 3D, FMS, and all this stuff. And in the conversation, we figure out the pain point. Oh my gosh, this is what I really need. Then we say, look, we've got one of three things, but this second thing is the one that's going to answer the call for you. It's the Look Better program. And they're like, you know what? Based on these three choices, that does make the most sense. Yeah. And then they go down this, what we call the new member integration journey. I'm talking about new members. So with small group training, unlike one-on-one training, anytime you take like a new client or a new member, if you're a gym, and you give them free sessions, first of all, giving people one free session and let's see if you buy is hard to do. I mean, it is really hard to do. What we do is this will shock you, but people will pay an enrollment fee for our club. We give them 4 weeks of 2 times a week, a small group training before we give them a price presentation. And the reason why we do that, the main thing, we just want to get them in and out the gym at least twice a week for the first month. So they just get used to the idea of stepping into the facility. Then we price present them. It's not for everybody, just what we do. But we can't do that with one-on-one training. It's impossible. Because every time we get a new person in the gym, it's going to occupy another trainer's hour. But with small group training, every coach has at least 2 or 3 spots open somewhere between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. somewhere. So we could integrate 100 members. If 100 members joined our facility in 2 weeks, there's a spot for somebody over the next few weeks to get them integrated. Cannot do it with one-on-one. It's only small groups. So if any of you have a business where you're like, look, I want to cater to the masses and get more people in front of me in a shorter amount of time. If that's a scenario you can create, small group training is the way. So that is how, and then the last thing I'll mention is the sales side. The tricky part for that is going to be if you're doing small group training and you're the person giving a price presentation, you've got to make sure that you have a way to have someone experience what you do. And at the end, you got to be able to sit down and focus in on them in a one-on-one scenario and have a proper price presentation to give them without the rest of your group drowning out the experience for them. Because we run into that situation a lot. We had to hire a PT sales manager to do that. If that's not you and you can't do that, what you should do instead is be really clear with the prospective client and what they're about to experience. You're about to do this experience. It's going to take this long, this many times. And when we're done, you and I are going to sit down one-on-one for 15 minutes and talk to you about how I can make your life different if you do this experience. And as long as that's really clear, you have a chance to get away from the distraction of the group and have a proper price presentation for a small group.
Love that. Kelly, do you want to add anything?
I think the only thing I would add is that, when you look at a small group training business, I think the more specific you are to your market, the better. I think you don't want to be general. I think Sheldon really spoke to that. But I think, if you're not a facility and you're just an individual trainer who's trying to market yourself as a small group trainer, have a very specific population. Do something very specific. Don't try and be the jack of all trades and you'll be the master of none. You want to know exactly who you're marketing to. It makes your marketing very clear and very concise. And that way people will know what you offer. And that way it makes your marketing super clear and simple because you've got one message. And it doesn't, instead of limiting you, it becomes much clearer what you're offering rather than, oh, we do this and we do weight and you want to lose weight. I can have a very clear message. It doesn't limit what you can do. It just makes it very clear to people when they find you what you're offering.
I love that. And I want to add this, that if you're in a box gym and you look at the Group X schedule, you're going to try to do your small group when there isn't classes going. So let's say your first class starts at 8 or 9. You would offer small group when? 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, because there's those people that want to work out prior to that. And so you're going to look at the schedule as well and see where you can fit in. And if you're not doing small group, you better jump on it before the first of the year. There is no better excuse than to advertise small group, 8 people max, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're doing it for this amount of time. Sign up. We're cutting it off at here. Cause a cause of demand. Let it be. It's limited. It's only here. When I started my small group, it's just Tuesday and Thursdays. They want me to do now another group on Monday and Wednesdays because they're talking about it. But guess what? There's no Group X classes at 7 a.m. in the morning where I'm at. So they want me to put it there because that's what they want. So you have to be intuitive in a way, and your tribe will talk about you, trust me. But they also don't want other people in there. And I think we've all experienced that. If they've got a niche, they're very leery of someone else coming in, which is an amazing thing as well. How do you compensate though for having less personal one-on-one when you have a group with corrections and all that? How do you compensate for that? Because when we're one-on-one, we can correct their feet, we can correct where they're gripping something. You have that whole thing about how their family's doing and all that. How do you compensate for that? How do you still give them that personalized thing? Kelly, let's start with you.
I think what Sheldon was talking about having a base exercise and progressing from there, is really the key, because if you have a series of appropriate exercises for your group, you can progress and regress them really easily. Knowing how to teach multi-level is the key, I think, to being successful in a small group training setting for me, because, and in group exercise has given me that experience of knowing, and I don't say level 1, this is level 1, this is level 2, because no one wants to be level 1. I'll say, if you're looking to create more challenge, why don't you try it like this? I really do monitor people very carefully so that they are getting that feeling of being in a personalized setting. They feel like they're getting good bang for their buck with personalized coaching, and I think that's really important to be able to do. But I think having a base exercise, a series of exercises that are foundational, and being able to progress them from there, and build people's skill and fitness levels is a good way to do it.
Love it. How about you, Leslie?
To add on to that, because we're talking about small group, is keeping in mind, everyone, that they are paying additional for your expertise. And for me, I can't stress enough is to know your exercise. Know the purpose of the exercise, who it's appropriate for, and then, like Kelly said, is you can regress it and progress it. But, there's a million exercises out there on YouTube that, people or trainers might do, but they're not necessarily appropriate for your clientele that you're trying to, take along their fitness journey. And I think that it's really important for us as trainers is to have that blueprint. And so, like, if you were to take an exercise like a plank, if somebody has carpal tunnel, how do you regress that, but yet have that individual be able to feel as though they are part of your group and they are special in your group, as to where in a large fitness class, it is much, much harder to, monitor and make sure that people are in the right alignment, they're doing things correctly. So I think for us as trainers, it's knowing who your students are, knowing what exercises that you are administering in your class, and keeping in mind that they are paying extra for your expertise. So that just gets down to us, having the skill set to be able to regress and progress every and any exercise that we administer in, in any session, rather than just like, here, you go over there and, you do 100 jumping jacks, and you over there do a bunch of burpees. And yet there's no real coaching, cueing, and correcting with students. And, they could get that in a Group X class and not have to pay extra for it. So you want people to realize that you are providing a better service, at the time that they're signing up for you. I think that's really important.
I love that. Sheldon, do you want to piggyback on that?
Yeah, Leslie and Kelly's an amazing point. There's not much else I can add, really. The only thing I can kind of think of is, first of all, it's important to recognize that it will never really be like one-on-one training. It never really will be. And you have to understand that as a coach, that you're going to have this difference, So I think it was Kelly talking about that you have to be okay with a bit of imperfection here and there, which is going to happen. Luckily now in today's world, we've got some technology that might help us get by here. We're seeing more and more technology now where you could, affordable, you could get things that you can put on a monitor that might display some common exercise patterns for you now and help build out circuits. We've been looking at stuff like that, which has been able to help the coach facilitate a group session without being too worried about, did they remember what I just told them to do in this particular circuit or this exercise while I go over here, which is a nice thing to start looking at. Hopefully in the future that gets easier to have access to. Also mentioned about the foundational exercises. It's really important to try to not make everything so complex. Quite often I've seen coaches who they just love the fact that their workout's always different, always variety every time they come in. And that's just going to create a chaotic small group training experience. So you'd rather have people feel competent than variety. Competence beats variety any day. And lastly, I'll say that being a great cuer is super important. I don't believe there's enough content in the events that we go to that talk specifically about how to coach and cue really well. It's a lot about programming. But there needs to be an uprising in coaching and cueing right now. And I'll speak on, I guess, and you guys can go to SCW's resources. I've done 2 presentations on coaching and cueing where I specifically talk about small group training and how to coach cue. And one thing that I guess is a good thing to think about is being really good at distinguishing when you internalize a cue versus you externalize your cues. Because when you internalize your cues, you're pretty much telling someone or a group, I want this particular part of your body to do this particular thing. Body part goes in this direction, and your brain will then start to identify what mechanical action needs to happen. And someone can easily overthink the pattern and cause what's called a constrained action hypothesis. And then they'll overthink a pattern. And when you introduce the move later, like in a circuit or a progression, you have to repeat these cues over again. But when you externalize it, and you have them focus more on the outcome of the move, like moving an object, moving toward this, imitating a pattern. You could augment the pattern with internal, but if you follow it up with more external and you repeat the cue later, research shows that there's a more automatic reaction to the exercise. It delays fatigue, and you could use a singular cue to get good posture or movement back again without over speaking the pattern. So like with groups, it's a really cool thing to get good at externalizing your cueing, because the words land better without saying as many things in a group.
I love that. And also, guys, I just want to, on the personal note, when you have a small group, start a chain, message chain. Get the word out to them when you're going to have something change or whatnot, and then be aware of them. There's nothing wrong with, I will text everybody I train one-on-one and tell them, great job today. Or, are you okay today? I still give them that personalized one-on-one via text message. So they know I'm aware of them, and I appreciate them, because never take for granted, no matter what we're doing, whether it be one-on-one, they're trusting us with their bodies and their health. And so never take that for granted. We are running out of time. I want to get one last question in there, and it's really kind of a simple one, and I think it really depends on where you're at, but is what piece of equipment or machines are more conducive to small group training? What piece of equipment or machine or more, so what is your favorite piece of equipment to do small groups with? Let's go with you, Sheldon. I know what Leslie's got to do. What do you got, Sheldon?
Yeah. My favorite individual piece of equipment. Oh gosh. I am partial to using, landmines. That's just my thing. It's just fun. I have so many things I like, but I don't know. I'm in the landmine phase at the moment. So I'll just say that.
I love that. What about you, Kelly? What do you love?
It really depends on the goal of the person and their ability. You can do a great class with a small group training class with just rubber resistance, with tubing. You can medicine balls, tubing, dumbbells. I mean, dumbbells are always a go-to for me. I find them so versatile. They're simple. They're not that expensive. Most people have held a dumbbell, so it's not an unfamiliar piece of equipment for people to use. So, a big fan of dumbbells. And but in my small group, we have a treadmill, an elliptical, a stepper, an attack bike, and a rower. We have a multi-station. We have dumbbells. We have a BOSU. We have stability ball. I have so much different equipment, and I love what Sheldon said. I want competence over variety. So any day, any day. So I want to make sure people are moving with skill. So I will stick with the same thing and use a piece of equipment that works best for that person.
I love that. And Leslie, what is yours? I hope it is that ball that's beside you. Because
Of
we
course.
all love that.
Well, I just have two words: less complexity. So, if you've got a boatload of equipment all over the place, they're running all over the place trying to grab stuff. Choose your battle, for what exactly it is that you want them to do, and the less complex, the better the outcome, the better the alignment, the less queuing you have to do if you've got like a multi-station piece of equipment. You know what I mean? So that would be my answer. And of course, the bender ball.
I want to say I'm going to have my panelists put in how you can get a hold of them. For me, my favorite is going to be always a step with risers because you can do a flat bench, you can make it into a decline or incline, and hand weights. I think it's just the easiest piece of equipment there is. I want to thank my panel tonight. I don't know if you felt the passion that I have felt from them, but they are so good at what they do. I hope you got some ideas from it. I want to thank Sarah for always giving me the opportunity to be her in these situations. Once again, though, I want to say, Leslie, I love seeing you. You look amazing. Kelly, congratulations for this weekend. And my Sheldon, thank you so much for joining us today. If you ever get to take a chance to see any of these people live, I want you to. Don't forget, SCW is live again. Come and see us. And without further ado, we're going to say goodnight, guys. Good night, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for having me.